Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about astrology and the death of Alexa Bartell. And some of you may have heard um, there was a woman, again by the name of Alexa Bartell in Colorado, Jefferson County, that was killed on April 19th, about 10:45 p.m., due to a rock being hurled at her vehicle while she was driving. What happened was it hit I believe it hit the window, shattered, glass shattered, and it caused her to drive off the road into a hill, down a hill or decline, what have you, and she died as a result of the injuries sustained from this. And first thing I want to get out, I want to offer my prayers and condolences to the close friends and family members of Alexa at this time. If by any chance any of those people should happen to see uh, this video, and it's terrible. She was only 20 years old. I don't have any birth details on her. I don't know her birth date. This astrology video, it's going to be based on, we'll be talking about the event chart for the death of Alexa Bartell. And you know first thing I want to get at with the death chart, event death chart, the ascendant is Sagittarius, moon in Taurus, and the sun is in Aries. This was right, the eclipse, covered the 19th and 20th of April, depending on location. This was relatively shortly after the eclipse, the exact point of the eclipse took place, because at this time the moon was at 0 degrees Taurus, a very early part of 0 degrees Taurus, because it's like 8 minutes of arc. And when you had the exact point of this solar eclipse in Aries was at 29 degrees, the sun was still at 29 degrees Aries at this time, but the moon had moved to 0 degrees Taurus. And though solar eclipses are perceived, seen as generally auspicious, it doesn't mean it can't be it doesn't mean it can't be negative to some degree. There has depend with certain people and certain people's lives and what have you. The sun, solar eclipses can often indicate the departure of some dominant male in one's life, but I believe it could also be about a child, because the sun also, a sun, rules children as well. The sun was also 29 degrees, which could signify endings. Is something of a volatile nature, something that had to do, there was an accident with the vehicle as well. Aries is also connected with accidents. This is, and obviously this person was a child of somebody. So, the thing about this is looking at the chart, going to the ascendant being in Sagittarius. And I want to just say there's one thing. Oddly enough, this I did. Some of you may remember I recently did an event chart that was based on that shooting in Alabama. There was some shooting at a dance studio where like 4 people died, and at least 4 confirmed deaths, and there were 28 other injuries. In this chart, the house setup is eerily similar to that one. I think both had Sagittarius rising. And this one, having Sagittarius rising, just a general face of this event, obviously very reckless, foolhardy, self-righteous, somebody doing this just because they felt like doing this, sadly. And the reality, the thing about this too, what's odd in a way, is that you have the moon in peaceful, tranquil Taurus, but Taurus is also, connected with the earth and rocks, and the person had, moon and Taurus can sometimes be, that emotional need for something that can be connected with the earth. And the earth is about, rocks are associated. So I mean, with the earth, you have the moon also squaring Pluto at this time as well, very tight square with Pluto. And the moon, you have the moon square Pluto, can indicate, destructive feelings, emotions, harder to control emotions, and feelings that you have vengeful feelings, destructive feelings at this time. And then the thing about this is, this was a spree that was going on. My understanding, this was not the only car that was hit with a rock at this time in that area, and this one unfortunately resulted again in the death of Alexa Bartell. You had like three or four other incidents near that same time, that where somebody was throwing, a rock or rocks at a vehicle to at least cause some kind of injury and or death. And the thing is, you have the moon. The thing with this is too, you have also, looking at, this event chart. You also have, again, going back to the sun being in Aries, sun and Aries negatively manifest. It could be a focus on truculence and violence. You have in the eighth house, Mars in Cancer is in the eighth house. Mars in the eighth house by itself can be an indicator of a volatile death. The ruler of that eighth house cusp, which is the moon, is in the fifth house, and sadly, that can suggest, a murder connected with enjoyment, amusement. This person, whoever did this, I believe, was getting a very good thrill out of this. Somebody, it's terrible, just, heinous crimes, and people, it seems like we're the world, United States, what have you, we have so much hatred, so much animosity toward others, and I just wish we could get together and be more about peace. I mean, what is this, world coming to at this point? I mean, I just, I don't even really have the words to express, what I feel about what's going on with this. I want to say though too is that Mercury, I believe, has just recently, gone retrograde in Taurus, so there's naturally going to be, a lot of, I mean, Mercury in Taurus by itself is a lot of, ponderous thinking, methodical, deliberate thinking, but it's going to be even slower because it's going to be going, because of the retrograde motion. There's going to be a lot of reviewing now of this matter, of what happened with this, woman trying to apprehend these suspects. And the thing about this too, you have Pisces, on the cusp of the fourth house of the end of life, and it's an indicator that this end of life of this person is really one, where it's somewhat, it's nebulous and unclear, where there's a lot of there's going to be a lot of mystery in this, because they have not, in my understanding, they have not apprehended the suspect as of yet. In this chart, you had 8 of 10 planets on the bottom half of the chart. When you have a preponderance of planets on the bottom half of a chart, that's more of an introverted chart. This is part of the reason, I think, where you couldn't get any, at least witnesses that we know about at this time, to see and identify who this person may have been. It did take place at night, and I understand that has something to do with that as well. You don't The thing about this too is, my understanding is that there was what happened was, when this woman, Alexa Bartell, was hit with when the car was hit with the rock being hurled at it, she was on the phone talking with a friend, and what the friend was able to do was very, shrewd, and I thought street savvy by doing this. She had a very cool head in this. She used her phone, some app on her own phone, to trace this Alexa's location, and she was able to find where the car had rolled off the road, down the hill, and that actually, naturally, that was advantageous to law enforcement, and ultimately, finding her. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway, and going back to Mars being, in Cancer, it also was at a critical degree, the 13th degree, which again is critical degree of Cancer, and Mars again being in the 8th house of death and murder. You have Gemini on the cusp of the 7th house of open adversaries, and those open adversaries mischievous, and this person, whoever was doing this was obviously very mischievous. This is somebody that I don't understand why people have to resort to this kind of volatility and going out and hurting others, and you're mad at yourself, or you have issues with self-worth. Why do you have to take this out on other people and express anger toward others in the process? I go through my own problems, I go through trials and tribulations, but I'm not out causing problems for other people, going out to deliberately maliciously hurt other people. This is just a terrible thing. Once again, another thing I want to talk about with this chart is that the majority of the planets are on the right half or right side of the chart, and this the positive in this could indicate that this could be a strong, maybe collaborative effort by others, and trying to help this person out. Alexa, to avenge her death, to bring this person or persons to justice. Looking at this, it's odd is that you have a number of planets, and you have the North Node in the 5th house in this chart, and the 5th house is about fun, amusement, and enjoyment. This was something to this person, unfortunately, that was something fun, enjoyable, and amusing, sadly. And the thing too is, as far as looking at the 3rd house cusp having Aquarius on it, well, that could indicate something bizarre, unusual, or unpredictable happening during driving. It's also Aquarius also has a connection with accidents as well, and it is again on the 3rd house cusp of mobility in this event chart. And I'm just trying to see if there's anything else of any significance I can talk about, it's connected with this event chart, and really not a whole lot. You have Neptune in the 4th house, which could add, make this, this end of life, this person, make it a little even more nebulous or unclear. Chiron is in the 4th house, which suggests, in a volatile ending. Chiron is about, emotional wounds, but also about physical ones as well. And Aries is connected with volatility. This was naturally, something that was very, you could say, something that had a lot of that had violence connected with it. This had malice, that had violence naturally associated with this event. And really, the thing I'd like to, really like to close with is just the fact that this is something where we need to understand that we have not only we have the escalation in these mass shootings. It seems like there's just more of an escalation just in volatility in general, just violence is going on, when we should really be learning to embrace and love one another. I saw a video on TikTok, and I think a lot of people can learn from it. It showed two young boys holding each other, just one giving the other a hug. They were both of different races, and it showed, when they were able to embrace one another and give each other support. And it's sad you have children that have a better understanding of that than many of us adults do. That even, many adults don't even, express, the love when it should be. And I'm not just talking about adults that are, dominated by hatred, by, ill feelings toward another, by violence. I'm talking about just, adults that are, sometimes dominated by self-interest, and they're so engrossed in their own lives and their own things they need to do that they become oblivious to their fellow man, that they don't even think about other people, and that they just want to, meet their own ends, and not really, care for others. And, maybe, event like this will bring, some, more people together, I'm hoping, and they'll try to, collaborate and work together and show, love for this person, even those that didn't even know her, to try to, help apprehend the suspect or suspects, in this, because this is something, in society that, shouldn't be tolerated. And it seems like, people always, want to talk about things and do something, but nothing ever really, gets done about things like this. These things just, we see such a proliferation, again, of violence, and, whether it's, something like this event, or, whether it's mass shootings when multiple people are killed. It just, we need to figure out what's going to actually, what can be done to actually, curtail this. You're not going to eradicate this kind of behavior completely, but realistically, to at least diminish it, to some degree. It's like there's virtually no safe haven anywhere, no matter where we go, and it's tiresome to, to live in fear, and be in a life, dominated by fear and trepidation. Somebody, a friend of mine, somebody I recently became friends with, had told me that, something about, basically people being aloof and indifferent. A lot of it is attributed to their own fear, and what happens is, as a result, we don't even often reach out, to people that are well-meaning as a result of it, because some of us have been so consumed by fear due to situations like what I talked about in this event chart. But anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.